I promise you, this is the one singular best piece of fishing advice that I ever figured out. Hi there, welcome to the Bass Fishing Life. I'm your host, Steve Rogers. Make sure before the video you hit that subscribe button and definitely hit that notification bell so you get every new release that we put out on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Well, let me tell you a little story, actually two little stories, that lead me to the single best piece of fishing advice that no one, and I mean no one, talks about. Many years ago, almost 20 years ago, I was fishing a BASS Open on Lake Champlain. And this was kind of the advent of the drop shot rig really taking off in the United States. And I had found some good smallmouth and largemouth in a weed covered pocket, and I was fishing a jerkbait. This was midsummer, a suspending jerkbait. I was catching some really nice fish. At the Wednesday night pairings meetings where we get our co-angler or amateur partner, and he was telling me that in practice he had caught some really nice fish on a drop shot rig. Right away, I was much younger, 20 years ago, and I was not about this drop shot rig whatsoever in this point in time. I was your traditional power fisherman, and I told him I don't do that, and I probably wasn't even that nice about it. Well, then fast forward to the first morning of the tournament. While I had a couple bites that came off, my co-angler in the back of the boat proceeded to fill his 5-fish limit. He probably had it in 30 minutes or less, and this was on Lake Champlain up at the New York-Vermont border. I could not believe how quick he filled his limit. Well, I had to eat a huge dose of humble pie, apologize for telling him I don't do that the night before, and he was so gracious and so nice that he actually sat down. We sat down on the front deck of that boat, and he went over what he was doing. I finally asked him, "What are you doing?" Go to the second story that I've got for you. This was actually a few years before that, and this one was in a Central Pro-Am event in Missouri on Table Rock Lake. And the particular bite that we were fishing, it was late spring, probably about that Marchish, April time period. And we were catching, in practice, I was catching some pretty decent fish on deep diving crankbaits. I mean, getting down there deep, 15 foot, 20 foot in that area. And it comes to tournament morning, and my co-angler and I, we were both fishing deep diving crankbaits, and we just were not getting the bites that we had the day before or the previous day in practice. We knew the fish were in this area. Well, I kept throwing this bait and, hoping for that bite to turn on, and he proceeded to sit down, took off that deep diving crankbait and picked up another deep diving crankbait, another brand, a little different model, ran about the same depth, and proceeded just to absolutely drill him right behind me. Couldn't believe it. I remember standing on the front deck of the boat. I wasn't even casting anymore. I was just, holy cow, this happened, just bang, 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 bang. And I finally asked him, "What are you doing? Why did you switch? Why is this working now? Could you just share with me?" And he was a local on this lake and had seen this on Table Rock before, this type of situation where they change what type of deep diving crankbait they prefer from day to day or even hour to hour. And we sat down on the boat and we compared the two models, and he showed me a little bit of difference in the lip and then the shape of the body. And really what it came down to is one had a slightly different motion, a vibration in the water than the other one did. And he was confident the fish were there, being a local, had lived on that lake his entire life. He just knew he had to keep going through deep diving crankbaits until he got the right one for that particular day. Those two lessons are something that I have never forgot. So now fast forward. What is the best piece of bass fishing advice that no one talks about. It's very simple and it works. It is, do not be afraid to ask a question. Now, that may sound so simplistic and almost like, why are you even talking about this? Let me tell you why. The bass fishing world is one of those situations where oftentimes as anglers, we're afraid to ask questions. We want to look like we know what's going on. We don't want to look like we're not sure how to do something. For those people in Facebook groups or in the comment sections of YouTube videos that are actually writing down, hey, how did you do this? What about this? I've tried this. Kudos to you, because you figured out the number one secret. And in the fishing world, nobody knows it all. We all have different backgrounds. We have different things that we've done, different areas in bass fishing that we're good at. And we need to be willing to share these things, and we need to be willing to ask questions of those people. I promise you, it will make you a better angler. So how do we go about asking questions? Well, the two examples I gave you were both in bass tournament situations, but I have found one of the best places to ask questions is at the boat ramp. At the beginning of the day or the end of the day when you're coming off the water, and you always get asked the same question, how'd you do? And really it comes down to, oh, I'm hoping I did better than this guy. As bass anglers, we tend to do that. It's similar to two dogs passing on the sidewalk and they got to size each other up. We need to get over that, and then if somebody says, oh, I did pretty good on this, we need to be okay with, you know what, I had kind of a tough day out there. Could you show me what you were doing? And 99% of the time, bass anglers are willing to share. They want to share. They want to have that feeling of mentorship to somebody else. If you do this all the time when you go out and you go to different locations, you go on vacations, don't be afraid to talk to people about what they're doing. Here on this YouTube channel, I do my very best to gather things that I have learned, like I'm sharing with you today, the 2 times that co-anglers really taught me something, and things that I hear from other people and I try them out on the water. My goal here is to share that with you. That's why we're here. And we know that bass anglers have questions. It's why there are millions of YouTube searches every year just on the topic of bass fishing, because people are wanting to learn new things, to try new things. This is one of the few sports out there where age is a benefit and not a negative factor. The longer somebody has been a bass fisherman, the more things they have learned, the more advice they have to share with others. Now, I know that you may have been thinking, well, you're hoping for that secret lure or that magic presentation that is the answer to everything, and that doesn't exist. We all know that doesn't exist, but we're looking for it. But the best advice that no one talks about is to be willing to talk to people and ask questions. I promise, as you go throughout your bass angling lifetime, your bass angling career, you will pick up so much information, because bass fishing is nothing more than gathering a mental database of tips and tricks and applying it to time on the water, experience on the water. And I always talk about on this channel, make sure that you go out and encourage someone today. Well, what better way to do that than to share the things you've learned and then be willing to accept new ideas that other people have learned. It's a great way for bass anglers to encourage each other all of the time. Well, I hope that this video definitely helps you out, and I hope that, probably deep down we all know that we need to be less scared to ask and less scared to share information, and it'll make everybody a better angler. Hey, make sure that you share the video, drop a comment down below, and don't forget to go out and encourage someone today. For the Bass Fishing Life, I'm your host, Steve Rogers.